Do you want to increase visibility and reduce risk when backing your RV into a tight space around obstacles? I installed this Haloview 4-camera system on our Grand Design Solitude fifth wheel. This is our guide to installation and first impressions.
The worst part of camping for me is backing into a spot. That camping meme is so true. After he yells at me, I won't talk to him for like an hour.
I never yell at you. I am raising my voice nice and loud so you can hear me from long distances away.
You guys that know us know we're just kidding, but if you just found us, I'm Alice.
And I'm Larry.
And we are Downsizing Makes Sense like the penny. We went full-time about a year ago, and we do videos about our experiences, product reviews, DIYs, and campground tours with fun stuff to do there. Well, I'm hoping that this new Haloview system will, well, keep us traveling together.
And happy.
And happy.
Alice has been asking me how we can improve this part of our full-time RV traveling experience. So when Haloview offered us the 4-camera system, I immediately said yes. I've been meaning to try this for a while. Haloview is a company known for their aftermarket vehicle camera systems for cars, trucks, RVs, and tractor trailers. The system that Haloview sent us is the RD7R Ultimate System with 4 cameras. It has a right and left marker light cameras, a rear marker light camera, and a RV door security camera, and of course, a 7-inch monitor that mounts in the truck. This system will give me better visualization of the RV while on the road and while backing up into some of those awesome state park camping spots that we love. I will go over what's included in this kit and how we installed the cameras on the RV and the monitoring system in the truck. Now, this is an install and first impression video, not a product review. We don't like to do product reviews until we actually have experience using the product. We will do a follow-up video when we've had a chance to put the system to the test.
Here are some of our initial impressions with the Haloview system after our first 3-hour trip and backing into a site. At first, I didn't think the system would be that helpful while on the road traveling from spot to spot. But overall, the rear camera and the side camera give a bonus view, but the RV door security camera is useless when traveling. I may move that camera to a better position in the future. More specifically, the side cameras are great for seeing your RV tires, like when they clear a curb at low speed or whether you should stop or slow down. However, I would not use the side cameras for making lane changing decisions because there is some latency in the system, a delay between when a car goes by and when I see it on the monitor. The rear camera does show the bike rack and how close the next car is to your rear end. An added bonus is that recording while traveling is like having a 4-camera dash cam in case of an incident. The monitor records each camera as a separate file. The quality of the recordings is not that great, but it may be helpful in case of an accident. The big advantage of the system, using it to help you park your RV. First, I can see Alice in the camera as she guides me into the spot. I can see her arms pointing out obstacles like sewer pipes. And now when she points, I know what direction she wants me to go. Second, I can see my blind side much better to avoid obstacles like trees, picnic benches, cars, and other RVs. Where we have the monitor mounted does not obscure my view while driving, but it is a bit of a distraction. Perhaps that's just because it's new. If you are confident when backing in your RV, then I wouldn't spend the $700 for the system. But if you like to have every safety feature available to park your RV, then $700 is a good investment. A torn-up RV could cost you thousands.
Okay, we're going to quickly go over the parts that are in the kit. First, there's the rear camera and marker light and the power wires. It has 2 connectors that come out of there. They connect to this adapter, which connects to the transmitter, which has its own antenna. You can also use this extension cable to go between the transmitter and the camera to get a better signal. It has 2 marker light cameras for left and right, and each one of those has an antenna. It has the security light right here, the security camera right there. It has its own antenna and then a power wire to be able to connect that, and a couple of different mounting brackets for that. There's a manual that is for all the camera equipment.
Then of course you've got the monitor itself. That's what it looks like on the back. It has its own antenna. It has a couple different ways to power it. You can use a cigarette lighter adapter or direct power it to your vehicle. It has a couple of adapters for that. It has a couple of different ways to mount it. You can either use this frame right here, mount it like that with these mounting knobs, or you can use this dash mount with 3M tape on the bottom, and that can just slide on there like that. The manual for the monitor and all of its equipment is right there. I'm going to start off with the right side marker light camera. Just kind of pull off the lens cap and then pull out the screws and expose the wires that are connecting to the marker light. Now I'm going to cut the wires to the marker light, and then I'm going to strip back about a ½ inch of wire on both wires. The marker lights get their power from the 7-pin connector on the RV to the truck, so I've got to connect that before I can test the wires at the marker lights. The wires coming from the RV were green and white, so I had to use a multimeter to confirm which was positive and which was negative. Twist all of the positive wires together, the marker light wire, the camera wire, and the positive wire coming from the RV. Use one of the included terminal caps that comes in the kit, and then crimp it on with a proper crimping tool and make sure the wires are nice and snug. Do the same thing with the negative wires, the marker light wire, the negative camera wire, and the negative lead coming from the RV. Twist them together, put a terminal cap on it, and crimp it. I like to finish it off with some electrical tape just to protect the connectors and for some strain relief on the wires. Now the screws that come in the kit are self-drilling, self-tapping stainless steel screws, but I still prefer to use a 1/16 inch drill bit pilot hole before I use the screws. I just had Al's hold it in place while I put all 4 screws in and get it firmly attached to the side of the RV. Now we just put the lens cap back on, put the antenna on, and then put the monitor on in the inside of the truck with the cigarette lighter and test it to make sure the camera is operating properly. I'm going to go to the left side of the RV and take off the lens cap to the marker light, take off both screws that hold it to the RV, and expose the wires that come from the RV powering the marker light. Before you cut the wires, make sure there's no power going to it by either turning off the lights of the truck or disconnecting the 7-pin. After you cut them, strip back about ½ inch of wire. Turn the lights back on and then confirm with a multimeter which is the positive wire. I mark it here with a piece of tape. Now take all the positive wires, twist them together, put on a terminal cap, and crimp it. Do the same thing with the negative wires. Twist them all together, put a terminal cap on, and crimp it. Wrap the wires up with a little bit of electrical tape, line it up, and either drill the holes like I did or just use the self-drilling, self-tapping screws that are included and screw the 4 screws to the side of the RV. Put the lens cap on, put the antenna on, and give it a test. Before I could install my new rear Haloview marker light camera, I had to remove my old backup camera. Just a few screws and pull it off. I removed the lens cap to my rear center marker light and then remove the 2 screws that hold it to the RV and then pull it off, exposing the wires that connect the RV to the marker light. Just like we did on the side marker light cameras, we're going to cut both wires and then strip back about ½ inch of wire on each wire. Then I'm going to use my multimeter to confirm which wire is the positive lead. I'm going to mark the wire, and then I'm going to put a terminal cap on the positive, use my crimping tool, crimp it off, and then do the same thing with the negative wires. Now I line up the base plate for the rear marker light camera, and then I'm going to pre-drill the holes with a 1/16 inch drill again. Then I'm going to screw in the 4 screws that hold the marker light to the RV. Then I just take the camera module and then snap it onto the base plate. My rear camera came with a separate transmitter pack. The advantage of having the separate transmitter is that you can place the transmitter where you're going to get better transmission on a large RV. It even comes with an extension cable that I could have actually run this 20 or 30 feet up my RV closer to the truck for better reception. I'm just going to attach it with just a short dongle and screw it to my solar panel to see if that will work before I use the extension cable. I just used a little bit of a Turnabond tape to hold the wires down to the roof. Now we turn the lights on and give the camera a test, and it works awesome. Now I just temporarily am sealing up the hole from the old camera. I just put a little piece of foam in there and finished it off with some silicone sealant. Later on, I'm going to come back and do a more permanent job of sealing this off. I'm going to install the fourth camera, which I'm going to use an RV door security camera. So there's this light right above my RV door, and I've got to pull off this light because I've got to access the power from this light, which is going to power my camera. So I'm just going to pull off the two screws, lift the light cover up, and then access the wires that are powering that light from beneath. I'm going to cut the wires, and I'm going to use my multimeter again just to confirm which is the positive and negative wire. So I'm going to twist all three positive wires together. The camera positive wire, the RV light positive wire, and the positive wire coming from the RV supplying the light. I'm going to twist them together, put a terminal cap on, and then crimp it with the proper crimper. I'm going to do the same thing with the negative wire, put a terminal cap on, and crimp it. I use my Dremel tool here just to create a little notch for the wire coming from the camera to pass under the frame of the light. Just put that back on, use the two screws to attach the light back to the RV, and then pop the lens cap back on. I use the camera rubber base plate as a guide for my marks where I'm going to drill my holes to attach the camera to the RV. I just drill with a 1/16 inch drill, line up my camera with the rubber base plate, tuck the wire inside, and then put the three first screws in. Now the fourth screw, it was a little tough because it's being blocked by the antenna, so I had to pull the screws off of the camera, put that fourth screw in, and then reinstall the four screws that hold the camera to the base plate. I added some silicone sealant to the top of the camera mount just to make sure I didn't have any water intrusion either behind the mount or at the screw holes there. Then I attach my antenna to the camera. I put a little sealant above the light also. There was some sealant there before, so I just resealed the light, make sure it was nice and watertight. I had Alice help me out with giving the camera a test, and we are all done. I considered a couple different spots on my dash to mount my monitor. I wanted to make sure it didn't block my vision, and I came up with just mounting it right here on a part of the dash. There's a good place to stick the mounting tape to. So I just cut back part of the adhesive and mounted it right there. This is kind of a temporary place. I may end up changing this later on. I'm just going to quickly go through some of the menus on the monitor. First of all, you have to be in single screen mode to access the menu. Once you get in a menu, the first one is the volume. This is where I actually selected to mute the volume. Picture button is where you can change the different picture settings of the monitor. The mirror menu lets you change the orientation of each camera and how you see it on the monitor. Very important to do this with each camera. The Q mode menu lets you select how you want your cameras displayed in multi-screen mode. The settings menu lets you select the time and date, whether you want NTSC or PAL, and auto dimming. The auto scan menu lets you select which cameras you want in auto scan and for how much time. The park line menu lets you set up whether or not you want parking guidance on your rear camera and which camera to set it up to. There's a slot in the monitor for up to 128 gig SD card for you to create recordings of the cameras. Here you can change whether or not you want the recordings to overwrite, you can format your SD card, or you can turn the recording on and off. The play menu gives you options to play back your recordings. All my cameras came pre-paired to the monitor, but if you need to repair your camera to the monitor, you do it through this menu.
I'm really looking forward to using this new system and seeing if it's everything that everyone says it is. So look for part 2 and see if we're still traveling together.
I think it's going to be awesome. Now, we will be testing the system as we travel north to escape the hot Florida summer, but you never know it on a day like today because we're like freezing. Yes. Do you have a camera monitoring system for your RV? Please share your experience in the comments.
You can also leave a message on our Instagram and Facebook.
Now, if you have any questions about the product or how I did the install, we would love to hear from you in the comments. Now, if you like this kind of content, we do lots of product reviews like this, RV DIY projects, campground tours, and full-time RV traveling experiences. please consider subscribing to our channel by clicking this link below. It would really help us out. We also will leave a link right over here for something for you to check out next. And remember,
Downsizing still makes sense.